Hi, welcome back to Reading with Money. I'm Money, and today I am doing my August wrap-up. Are you leaving? Are you staying? Hi, baby. Would you please decide, madam, where you're going to stay? It's gonna be very distracting if you don't. Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. Hi, welcome back to Reading with Money. I'm Money, and today I'm doing my August wrap-up. It's a bit late, especially by the time I actually get around to editing it, but it's fine, it's fine. So let's just get right into it because I read 8 books in August. Well, one of them I finished in the first days of September, but yes, I read most of it in August, it counts. So yes, let's get started. So the first book I read was Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I chose this book because it had the colors of my flag, and that was one of the prompts for the magical readathon that happened in August. It was the Autumn Equinox of the Aurelium Academy, and yeah, that was the first book I read. It's the latest Blake Crouch book, but it's the first one I've ever read by him. So yes, I'm looking forward to reading more by him. So if you don't know what this is about, this is a science fiction book in which we follow our main character, whose mother is sort of responsible for like a very big ecological disaster, basically, which led to a famine and millions of people dying. So now he works for a government agency that makes sure that no other scientist can manipulate DNA so that this doesn't happen again. And well, then during a raid, he gets injected with an upgrade to his DNA, and yeah, we kind of go from there. It's kind of like a sci-fi sort of thriller, I guess. Yeah, we are basically trying to figure out who injected him with this and why, and what changes are going to be made to him through this upgrade, let's say, and yeah, what are the consequences for humanity. Yeah, I thought it had some really interesting conversations, especially at the end. The epilogue was really cinched it for me. I thought that was really well done. There were parts of it that kind of lagged, I guess. It wasn't that I wasn't interested in reading it, or that I didn't want to pick it up, but I felt that some parts were a bit slower, I guess. But all in all, I really enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars, and I really recommend it if you're looking for a good sci-fi with a really good question to ponder as humanity, I guess. Yeah, I think that was the thing that interested me the most. Like, should we keep evolving, basically, and what will be the price of that? And yeah, can we really manipulate DNA to make the world better, or would we just be, you know, destroying everything? Now, the next book I read is a contender for one of my favorites because I loved it. It's called The King of Infinite Space by Lindsay Fay. I'll put the picture up here. And this is a modern queer retelling of Hamlet. And, you know, with that phrase, you already had me. I adored this book. I cannot begin to tell you how much this book just consumed me. We follow the story of Hamlet through 3 characters. First we have Leah, who is of course Ophelia, and then we have Horatius chapters. Horatio is still Horatio, because why would you change his name? And then we have Ben, who is Hamlet. I cannot, I swear I cannot with this book. It's just perfect. You can really see the different, like each chapter through each of the perspectives feels very different, and you can really get into the character's mind through them. I thought that the perspectives that we get through telling the story through these 3 different characters is just incredible. We have a perfect love triangle between these 3 characters because obviously Horatio is in love with Hamlet, Benjamin, whatever, like, come on. And I just love it. We basically follow the same plot as Hamlet, like Hamlet's dad dies, and well, yeah, Hamlet wants to avenge him because he figures out that there's something weird going on because his uncle got married to his mother. I just, yes. There was a point in this book that I actually screamed out loud because I should have seen something coming and I didn't. And yeah, that's all I can say. So I really, truly recommend this book. It's just fantastic. You really feel for all of the characters, especially Horatio. I love him. But really all of them. And it was super poetic and lyrical and just incredible. Benjamin studied, what was it? I forget, but it was such a weird thing to study, like mixing philosophy with science and astronomy, astrophysics, I don't know. And all his conversations tend to be very either philosophical or scientific, and they were fantastic. And Leah does flower arrangements. Everything is just fantastic. I could keep ranting about this book, but I just urge you to go read it because, yeah, I haven't heard anyone talking about this book, and it's just freaking perfect. Anyway, moving on before I start crying about this book. Obviously, I gave it 5 stars. Okay, so next I began my project of reading first The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, the classic tale, because T. Kingfisher came out with a retelling of it. It's quite a short book. It's called What Moves the Dead. I'll put the picture up here. I don't know for how long you can stare at it, but yeah. So The Fall of the House of Usher is just fantastic. It was great to reread it, and then, well, I got into What Moves the Dead. As I said, this is a retelling of that story, and we follow our main character. Their name is Alex, and they receive a letter from their friend telling them that, well, to visit them at their house because, yeah, there's something going on. So they go, and they are immediately struck by how gloomy the place is and how gray and dead and everything looks. And well, then we start seeing that something is not right at that house, at Usher Manor. I like what T. Kingfisher did by adding more characters to the story and fleshing out the already existing characters, and really giving an explanation for what happens in the original story, which, if you're queasy about certain things, I don't know if this is the book for you, because yeah, it gets pretty gross at some points. Let's just say that, yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but if you look at the cover, yeah. I just really enjoyed this story. You can go watch my vlog. I'll put it up there somewhere. I never remember which side it is. Which side is it? Is it up here? Anyway, it was really good. I gave it 5 stars. It was super enjoyable, super creepy, everything that you could want out of a Poe story, but more. And yeah, she's a genius. I loved it. Okay, moving on. So then I started reading the Martian Chronicles, which I actually own. It's such a tiny, precious book. I had to read this for 2 reasons. Well, had to, but I wanted to read this for 2 reasons. One, because it fulfilled the prompt for desert setting, because, well, Mars is a desert. But also it has a story that is connected to The Fall of the House of Usher, which again, you can watch on my vlog what I thought of that particular story. So in this book, it's a collection of stories in which Bradbury kind of imagines what would happen if we were to colonize Mars, basically. There are Martians in this story, like there are people living on Mars by the time that humans arrive. And well, we have a few stories of their interactions and what the Martians try to do to stop humans from entering their planet and actually, actually interacting with them. And yeah, then it's just a story of what humanity would do to such a planet. And I find it, yeah, it's excellent. It's 5 stars. It's a classic. You should go read this. If you haven't read Bradbury before, I think this is a really good introduction to him and his world, I guess. Yeah, some of these stories are just timeless. Like, truly timeless. Yeah, like the messages still resonate. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. I love it so much. Then the next book I started, but I didn't finish until later, was The Martian by Andy Weir. I started this because there's another prompt that said that you had to read a book with the same word as your previous read, and well, Martian. So I thought that was very clever of me. This book was excellent. I know that I'm kind of late to the game, but wow. I laughed out loud, I teared up, I thought it was fantastic. The science things, at first I tried to keep up with the science of it, like there's a lot of calculations and things going on in this, but I couldn't, and then I just decided to trust him basically. But if you don't know what this is about an expedition to Mars. It's not the first time that humans have been on Mars, but this one fails terribly because there's a storm, and while the 6 crew members are trying to escape Mars back into their ship, one of them gets hit by debris flying around because of the windstorm, and well, the other crew members think that he's dead, so they basically leave him on Mars, but he actually survives for some freak accident reason. We follow his story in the form of a log, like a ship's log, and then, well, how NASA on Earth finally realizes that he's actually alive there, and well, how they're trying to get him back to Earth. It's so good. There's so many things that go wrong in this book. Every time you think like, okay, maybe, but you know how much you have left of the book, and you're like, yeah, something else is gonna go wrong before he gets to Earth or not. Like, yeah. But the main character, I can't remember his name now. Mark? Was it Mark? I think it was Mark. He is very funny. He takes his predicaments pretty much in stride with humor as much as you can. And so, yeah, he's pretty funny. I really, really enjoyed this book. And again, it may be very hopeful for humanity for some reason, and any book that can do that, you know, gets 5 stars from me. The next book I need to talk about is The Book Eaters by Sunjidin, or Sunyidin. Still don't know how to say her name. This book, I buddy read this book with my best friend. She finished it before I did, and she was like, okay, this was dark. And yes, it was pretty dark. In this book, we follow this woman who is a book eater, and book eaters basically eat books to survive. That's their food. This is like magical realism, or I don't know what you would call it, because yeah, they live on Earth, hidden from humans. Because yeah, they're not humans. They're book eaters. They can also give birth to mind eaters, who, as the name pretty much says, have to eat minds to survive. So we follow this mother who has a mind eater son, and there's a drug that can help these mind eaters be able to eat books instead of minds to survive, so that they don't have to go around, you know, eating the minds of people. But this drug has kind of, the people who make it have kind of disappeared. It was one of the families of the book eaters. So the mother is trying to figure out how to get the drug for her son. And yeah, it's basically a fight for survival. There's so much going on in this book. There's so many things that I could talk about because of the way that the book eater society runs itself. I could just mention a few things, like the women are usually fed fairy tales and you know, appropriate books. There are few book eater women. They can only bear 2 children in their life, so they are married to the different families, like they are married off to a member of one of the other families, obviously, so that, you know, to prevent, you know, incest and inbreeding and all of that. And yeah, they have 2 husbands in their lives so that they can procreate a couple of times, and then, well, they can just live off the rest of their lives on their own with the families, but never seeing their kids again. It's just, there's so much to discuss from this book. It's just, I can't. I would spoil a lot of things if I went into more detail, but it's just so interesting, so fascinating. It is very dark though. There's barely any light moments, for lack of a better word. yeah, there are very few truly happy moments for these people. It has a really good way of going back and forth in time. So we first we follow the present time when our main character is grown, a mother, but we also, each alternating chapter, we go back in time since she was a child, and how she got to this point, and her relationship with her brother and her different husbands. It's really truly fascinating, and I really enjoyed it. I can't remember now if I gave it 4 or 5 stars, but I really liked it. And in fact, if I think about it now, I would probably give it 5 stars. It was so good, and again, I haven't heard many people talking about this, so yeah. Are you gonna stay there all the time? Yeah, I'm still thinking about that book. I had to read a couple more books for Magical Readathon. I think I didn't say, but The King of Infinite Space filled a prompt for a book featuring a betrayal, because, of course, Hamlet, lots of betrayals going on there. So I had to read a couple more books for that, and yeah, I kind of did not complete my TBR for that. I did start reading The Kingdoms. Hi, hello, this is one of my favorite books of last year. It's by Natasha Pulley. I wanted to reread this because I am planning to do a Natasha Pulley video, and I wanted to have this fresh in my mind. I think this is her most complex book. So yes, I wanted to have it fresh in my mind so I could do that video. But also it fulfilled the prompt of book featuring time traveling, because there is time traveling in this book. What we have here basically is an alternate reality in which France won the Napoleonic Wars and invaded England, and we follow our main character, Joe, who is an English slave to the French. One day he steps off a train and he has no memory of who he is. One day he receives a strange postcard telling him to come home if you remember, and well, things kind of go from there. But we have time traveling in this. I'm not gonna say much more about it because yeah, I wouldn't want to spoil the big reveals in this. And I'm doing a very bad job of explaining this, but it's just so good. It's just... Listen, it has time traveling. Always fascinating to figure out how everything works. Like, come on. Then it features the Napoleonic Wars, which is one of my favorite historical periods to read about. I don't know why. Okay, I'm fascinated by that time. We have naval battles being played out. And we have what I think is the best character I've ever read about, and that is Missouri Kite. I just love him so much. He's just such a good character. I can't, okay? This was such a good read, as good as the first time I read it. There's just so many things. There's so many issues that are explored here. And I could go on and on, but again, I don't want to spoil my other videos. So you'll have to wait for that to hear my full in-depth thoughts. But if you haven't read any Natasha Pulley, I wouldn't recommend starting with this one actually. Or maybe yes, I don't know. It's just, yes, I think, no, I can't choose between her books. No, don't make me, like, I don't think I could choose between all her books. But yes, this is just incredible, such an achievement. All the plot lines and different things start, you know, knotting themselves and making sense, and you obviously piece it before our main character does, and it's still so satisfying. I can't. Okay, I need to stop talking about this. So this was the book I actually finished in September. I was taking it slow because I was reading it only when I was at home, because I didn't want to carry this around because it is quite heavy, as you can probably see. But anyway, my heart, 5 stars, obviously, like, yes. And then the other book I read was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I wanted to read it, obviously, because the movie is coming out, and I didn't read it back then when it was, like, being hyped up. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I don't know why I had the idea that I wouldn't like it as much, but I gave it 4 stars. It's about this girl who lives with her family in the marsh of North Carolina, but then one by one her family members start abandoning her until she's left alone in the marsh to fend for herself. We follow her story as she grows up and learns how to survive on her own with the help of some people, let's say. And we follow again dual timelines. We know from the beginning that a man from the town, was found dead, and well, they suspect Kaya, this woman by now, obviously. So we are jumping back and forth between her as a child and as she grows up, and then present time and the trial and what she goes through. I thought it portrayed really well the idea of someone growing up isolated and not depending on anyone, and then, you know, something happening to her, and yeah, having to depend on other people, and how would a person react to that. I thought that was really well done. And I actually watched the movie yesterday. It was yesterday. Oh my god, today was a long day. I watched the movie yesterday and I thought it was really, really good. A really good adaptation of the book. It actually made me cry, where the book didn't. So yes, maybe it was the music. Who knows? But yes, I really enjoyed it. And that was it. Those were the 8 books I read in the month of August. It was a good reading month. As you can see, I gave everything 4 or 5 stars, but that's not out of the ordinary for me, I guess. I have one more book to read for my magical readathon TBR, and that is The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. That one goes for a childhood favorite because I read it when I was a teenager and it was one of my favorite books back then. So I really want to revisit it and see what I think now. I'm doing a vlog where I'm reading my old science fiction favorite books. I did not put those words in order correctly, but never mind, you get what I mean. You'll see that video coming up soon. I think I might have to do it in parts, so it might be a series in which I read my old favorite science fiction books. I don't know. So stay tuned for that. But yes, that is going to be it for now. I have been talking for like half an hour, so who knows what I'm gonna have to edit out. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, especially The King of Infinite Space and The Book Eaters, because again, I haven't heard many people talking about them and I'm just bursting at the seams. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't already, especially because I do have a few videos lined up. Like I said, the Natasha Pulley video and my old sci-fi books thing, vlog. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, happy reading.